This title, she must get clapped or she will die from a curse. But what?
American neighborhood.
Sign me
A
up,
teenage
buddy.
girl runs out of her house and freezes in the middle of the street.
I meant sign me up to get rid of the show from airing.
Looking at something that makes her very scared. A neighbor asks her if she needs help, but she says she is fine and runs back into the house as she ignores her father, only to come out again with the car keys. She immediately drives away and makes it to the beach, where she gets a call from her father. The girl tells him that she loves him, almost as if it was a goodbye. The next day, the girl appears dead on the beach with a leg broken in a disturbing angle.
Ew.
Sometime later, Jay goes to the movies with her boyfriend Hugh. While waiting, they play a game that involves watching the people around them, and Hugh points at a lady in yellow in the back. Jay doesn't see her and wonders if Hugh is trying to prank her, but now Hugh is clearly uncomfortable and wants to leave. On their way to the car, Jay tries to ask if the person he saw was an ex, but Hugh denies it and just says he feels unwell. Afterward, they go to have dinner together and the evening goes on as normal without the couple noticing the person walking outside their window. A few nights later, Jay and Hugh go on another date to the beach and their kissing quickly heats up. Jay asks Hugh to go back to the car and they do the naughty, which is the first time for Jay. Afterward, Jay is resting and talking about her dreams when suddenly Hugh uses chloroform to put her to sleep. Minutes later, she wakes up tied to a chair inside an abandoned building. Hugh hasn't even bothered to dress her up again, he is just walking around while telling Jay to remember everything he's about to explain. He claims that someone passed something to him and he's passed it to her by doing the dirty. This something is going to follow her from now on, and it could look like someone she knows or just a stranger in the crowd. At that moment Hugh sees it, so he moves Jay on the chair until she sees it too. There's a naked woman nearby walking toward them. Jay is still confused, but Hugh just keeps going, explaining that Jay has to pass it to someone else to get rid of it. If it kills her, it'll go after Hugh next. The woman enters the building and keeps getting closer. If it kills her, it'll go after Hugh next. The woman enters the building and keeps getting closer, so Hugh drags Jay away as he explains he only did this to make her believe him. The thing is very slow, so they make it to the car and drive away. Soon they make it to Jay's house and Hugh just dumps her in the middle of the street before going away without a word. Her sister Kelly and her friends immediately rush to help her and call the police, causing all the neighbors to come out just to get the gossip. Jay has to tell the cops that it was all consensual and that he never went to Hugh's house because he was embarrassed by where he lived, but she did know the address. Afterward, Jay is taken to the hospital to run some tests. Her body is fine, but the experience has left her with trauma. The cops search the old building and the address Jay gave them, but they only find the chair and Jay's bag. There's no sign of Hugh, the woman, or the car. Soon the police discover that Hugh used a fake name to rent a house, so they have zero clues to continue the investigation. When Jay returns home, she barely touches her food or leaves her room. Whenever she's alone in the bathroom, she can't stop staring at herself in the mirror and looking at her privates as if she could magically find an answer. One afternoon she's startled by something hitting the window, but it is just a ball thrown by a neighbor kid. When she finally goes back to her college classes, Jay looks out the window and notices an old woman in a hospital gown walking towards her. There are other people outside, but nobody seems to see her. At first Jay tries to ignore her, but she gets too nervous and decides to leave the class, which is noticed by Greg. In the hallway, the old woman continues to follow Jay as she walks right in front of people without being seen. Getting scared, Jay rushes out and drives to the shop where Kelly and their friend Paul work. They don't believe something supernatural could actually be happening, but Paul still offers to stay the night in the sister's house as a guard. Since it's obvious he has a crush on Jay, they decide to invite their friend Yara as well. That night, Jay can't sleep, so she joins Paul on the couch to watch some TV. They chat about all the time they spent together as kids and the fact they were each other's first kiss. Suddenly they hear glass breaking, so Paul checks the kitchen to find a broken window, however he doesn't see anybody outside. Paul goes to wake Kelly up to call the police and a worried Jay goes to the kitchen, only to find a half-naked woman walking towards her as she pees herself. Terrified, Jay screams and runs upstairs to lock herself in her room. Paul and Kelly come to check on her and swear they haven't seen anything, so Jay opens the door for them and has a breakdown. As the duo tries to comfort her, someone else knocks on the door. They open it to find Yara, but suddenly a creepy-looking man appears behind her and comes into the bedroom. Screaming in horror, Jay escapes through the window and finds a bicycle outside that she uses to get away. This is seen by Greg again, who is nearby in a car with his date. After riding as fast as she can, Jay makes it to the park and sits on a swing while looking around for potential attackers. At that moment she sees some shadows among the trees, but it's just her friends, and Kelly hugs her to comfort her. Soon they're joined by Greg, so they tell him about the break-in and Jay concludes she needs to find Hugh. Greg agrees to help and the next morning, he drives the group around town to try to find Hugh. They make it to the house he rented and notice he hung lots of cans and bottles on the windows as an improvised alarm to know if someone breaks in. There's also a ton of medicine in the bathroom cabinet. In the attic, Jay notices a hole in the newspapers covering the window and looks out, only to quickly pull away when someone walks by. Paul finds some dirty magazines and lots of used tissues near a mattress. Inside one of these magazines there's a picture of Hugh with his old girlfriend, who is wearing the school jacket. Later Greg and Jay go to the school from the jacket, and with the help of a secretary, they discover Hugh's real name is Jeff and get their real address. The group drives to his real house and Jay is shocked to meet Hugh's mother because she looks like the naked woman from the other night. Hugh accepts to chat with the group and tells them that even if the thing is following Jay, he can still see it. There's nothing they can do except pass it on, so Hugh advises Jay to do the dirty with a new partner. Greg doesn't believe any of it and Hugh gets angry, reminding them that he's in danger too. If Jay gets killed, the thing will go after him next and down the entire line until it reaches the person who started it. He apologizes to Jay saying he was a victim too, explaining a random one-night stand from the bar was what got him. When someone walks by,
see, that's why you don't do one-night stands, bro.
He gets very nervous, but everyone else assures him they can see the person too. Thinking they need to put some distance between Jay and the thing, Greg takes the group to his family's vacation house many miles away. Following Hugh's example, Jay puts up some cans on the window as a makeshift alarm. Greg takes the gun his family hid in the shed and teaches Jay how to shoot so she can protect herself. Later the group goes to the beach and while they relax, they don't notice a person that looks like Yara approaching them from behind while Greg is away peeing. Suddenly the thing lifts Jay's hair and while the others can't see the entity, they do see the hair moving. Paul grabs a chair and tries to hit the thing, causing it to let go of Jay but also to push Paul away in return.
Dang.
The entity continues to follow them as the group runs into the shed, where Paul notices the marks left on his stomach by the push. Jay finds the gun and starts shooting at the thing, missing a bunch of shots until she finally hits the creature on the neck. The thing falls to the ground only to quickly recover, so Jay immediately locks the door before the creepy guy from the other night walks by the window. Then something starts pounding on the door until it makes a hole in it, but then Greg appears. He doesn't believe them when they say something is out there and runs to double check. Jay worries when she can't hear anything and approaches the door at the same time the identity comes back and crawls through the hole. Screaming and panicking, Jay runs through the other door until she reaches Greg's car. The thing is still following her, so she drives at a dangerous speed and when she turns around to check on her pursuer, she almost crashes into a truck. She dodges it just in time but ends up crashing into the cornfield instead and passes out. Sometime later she wakes up in the hospital with a broken arm. She gets scared when she hears steps in the corridor, but it's just a nurse. In the evening, Greg accepts to do the dirty with her on the hospital bed because he still doesn't believe the curse exists. As days pass, to do the dirty.
Even Paul didn't get a chance. I saw Greg had a girlfriend, bro. Oh my god. I thought, hey, nice guys always finish last, Paul. Focus on yourself a little bit.
With her on the hospital bed because he still doesn't believe the curse exists. As days pass, Greg continues to visit Jay, and Paul becomes very jealous. Greg hasn't seen anyone creepy so far, so he doesn't think the entity is following him. When Jay is finally released from the hospital, she stays home and refuses to go anywhere. Greg continues to deny the entity exists because he hasn't seen anything, but now the others are on Jay's side because they saw the hair in the chair. One night, Jay sees the entity wearing Greg's form and walking towards Greg's house. The thing tries the door but it's locked, so instead it breaks a window to get in. Jay tries to call Greg on the phone, but he doesn't answer, so she runs to the house and enters through the window too. Upstairs, she discovers the entity shaped like Greg's mother knocking on his door and tries to warn him not to open it, but Greg answers the door anyway and the thing jumps on him. When Jay checks inside the room, the creature is getting naughty with Greg's dead body while the lights flicker. A terrified Jay
What the? Oh, yo.
Checks inside the room. The creature is getting naughty with Greg's dead body while the lights flicker.
Is this Jeffrey Epstein? Did he
terrified Jay runs away and leaves in a car, crying as she notices the entity following her again. Eventually she makes it to the woods and decides to spend the night there. The next morning, she sees 3 men in a boat, so she takes off some of her clothes and walks into the water. When Jay returns home, the sisters sleep in the same room with Yara for safety. Paul comes to visit one morning and says he's willing to get the curse before holding Jay's hand and trying to kiss her, but she turns him down. Then Paul announces he has a plan, so the group leaves together in the car. On their way out, Jay sees the entity on her roof. Moments later they make it to the university pool and start connecting all the electronics they've brought with them, leaving them around the edge of the pool. Jay gets in the water and for a few hours, the group just waits while a storm rages outside. Eventually the entity shows up looking like Jay's dead father but doesn't get into the pool, just walks around it. Jay points at it and describes what she sees for the others when suddenly, the thing starts disconnecting the electronics to throw them into the water. At first Jay swims away to dodge them, but soon a machine hits her in the head and makes her bleed. As the creature keeps throwing things, Jay does her best to point at it and Paul tries to shoot it, only to accidentally hit Yara in the leg instead. Then Paul tries again and manages to shoot the thing's hand while an iron hits Jay. At that moment Kelly throws a sheet over the creature to mark its spot and Paul shoots it in the head, causing it to fall into the pool. Jay tries to swim away, but the thing pulls her down by her ankle, so Paul opens fire again. After a few failed shots, he hits it in the head and Jay manages to get out of the pool, noticing the marks left on her ankle. When she looks at the water, it's slowly getting filled with blood. Later when the group goes home, Jay and Paul finally get down to business. The next day, Paul drives near some street workers, considering passing the curse to them. The next day, Paul drives near some street workers, considering passing the curse to them. Later in the afternoon, Jay and Paul walk down the street holding hands, unaware of the mysterious person walking behind them. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications.
What did I just watch, bro?